Hello, welcome. You are with Dr. Sushma Singh. Today in Unit 9, Dependency Theory of Underdevelopment. Let us continue our topic, the essential propositions of dependency theory. Some of the main propositions of dependency theory can be put as: all dependency theories are critical of the neoliberal theories of the development, who assert that the underdeveloped nations have a lot of catching up to do and they will reach the takeoff stage once they adopt sound economic practices and policies. Indeed, in 1950s and 60s, there was a paradigmatic consensus that the growth strategies were universally applicable, a consensus best articulated by the Walt Rostow in his book The Stages of Economic Growth. Dependency theory suggests that the success of the richer countries was a highly contingent and specific episode in global economic history and was dominated by the highly exploitative colonial relationships of the European powers. A repeat of those relationships is not now highly likely for the poor countries of the world. Dependency theory repudiates the central distributive mechanism of the neoclassical model, which is usually called trickle-down economies. The dependency theorists examine many structural elements which go into the failure of the economy: racial, ethnic, or gender bias, etc. For these structural reasons, dependency theorists argue that the market alone is not a sufficient distributive mechanism. Another proposition that is common to dependency theorists is the division of world into core, peripheral, satellite, metropolitan, and core, semi-peripheral, periphery. The core nations are the advanced countries of the West who essentially manufacture more sophisticated goods which are exported. The peripheries are the poor nations which supply primary products such as agricultural products and raw material and natural resources. They also provide cheaper labor and market for wealthy nations. A common assumption underlying all these theories is that the dependent nations are poor not because of the residues such as feudalism or lack of technology, but by the fact that they were closely integrated into the Western economic system. They remained mainly as the producers of raw material or to serve the repositories of cheap labor and were denied the opportunity to market their resources in any way that competed with the dominant states. Peripheral nations are dependent on core nations in a relationship of the structural inequality and placing them at a systematic disadvantage. This differs from the interdependence because of the asymmetrical relation of power between the interacting nations. External forces play, the dependency theory argue, a huge role in the underdevelopment of a nation. They have in common the assumption that external forces are of prime importance to the economic activities within the dependent states. These external forces include multinational corporations, international commodity markets, foreign assistance, communications, and any other means by which the advanced industrialized country can represent their economic interest abroad. The diversion of resources over time is maintained not only by the power of the dominant state but also through the power of elites in the dependent states. Dependency theories argue that these elites maintain a dependent relationship because their own private interests coincide with the interests of the dominant states. These elites are typically trained in a dominant state and share similar values and culture with the elites in the dominant states. Thus, in a very real sense, a dependency relationship is a voluntary relationship. One need not argue that elites in a dependent states are consciously betraying the interest of their poor. The elites sincerely believe that the key to economic development lies in the following prescription of liberal economic doctrine. Self-sufficiency and protection of domestic market was seen as an important solution to remain outside the inherently exploitative world system. Some, like Pavish, had very specific ideas on this, such as the import substitution. Others argued in more general terms about the protecting domestic interest and the role of the state. They feel national interests of a nation are best served by catering to the poor of their own country than following the dictates of external agencies. What exactly constitutes national interest, or what is it means in operational terms, is not clearly argued. Thus, the dependency theories in general were a critique of accepted notions of development, which were largely Eurocentric in their origin and in their interest. Dependency theories are therefore very popular among many third world nations, and some did attempt to arrive at policies that would serve their country, but they also have many critics. We have not examined any individual thinking in all its critical aspects, but we will look at some of the critics of dependency theory in general in our next lecture. Thanks for listening.